touching story, we meet Emma, a 19-year-old girl who is about to face the most difficult goodbye of her life, the departure of her beloved teacher, Mr. James. As she navigates the emotions of first love and the bittersweet moments of growing up, Emma finds herself grappling with a deep sense of loss that she never expected. But through this emotional journey, she learns that saying goodbye isn't just about letting go. It's about growing, understanding, and embracing the lessons that life has to offer. Emma's heartache mirrors the complexities of the transition from childhood to adulthood, where dreams, relationships, and the passage of time collide. But there's more to this goodbye than just the sadness of parting ways. As Emma reflects on the bond she shared with Mr. James, she begins to realize that love and loss are not opposites. They are intertwined, helping shape who we become. Join Emma as she experiences her last day with her teacher, uncovering a journey that will leave you reflecting on the meaning of goodbyes, love, and growing up. Emma had always been an eager student, passionate about learning and excited to be at school every day. However, it was Mr. James, her English teacher, who truly made her love for learning come alive. He was more than just a teacher to her. He was a mentor, someone who believed in her dreams, even when she doubted herself. Mr. James wasn't like other teachers. He listened to his students, paid attention to their passions, and guided them with wisdom and kindness. His classes were filled with stories that made English come to life. And for Emma, those stories became the bridge to a world of possibilities. For years, Emma had admired Mr. James, but as she approached the end of her school days, things began to change. Graduation was just around the corner, and with it, the knowledge that it was time to say goodbye to the place and the people that had been a constant in her life. Emma had grown emotionally attached to Mr. James, not just for his teaching, but for the way he had shaped her into the person she was becoming. However, she never expected this day would come so quickly. The thought of losing him, even in a professional sense, was overwhelming. But what she didn't realize was that this farewell would be much more profound than she could ever anticipate. As graduation day neared, the entire school was buzzing with excitement. But for Emma, there was an undercurrent of sadness she couldn't shake off. She had always looked forward to this day, but now that it was finally here, the thought of leaving Mr. James behind made her heart ache. It was during the final weeks of school that Emma learned the shocking news. Mr. James was retiring. The teacher, who had been such an important part of her life for so many years, would no longer be there to guide her. For Emma, it felt like the foundation of her world was crumbling. She had always imagined that she would see Mr. James again after graduation, perhaps in the hallways or at reunions. But now, that possibility seemed so far out of reach. The more she thought about it, the more confused she became. Emma realized her feelings for Mr. James were deeper than just admiration. In those quiet moments of reflection, she began to understand that her respect for him had turned into something much more profound, a kind of love, though not the romantic kind she was used to. It was a pure, unspoken connection, one based on shared moments, understanding, and trust. But even more than her feelings for him, Emma found herself grappling with a deeper question. How could she move forward when the person who had shaped her understanding of the world was no longer going to be there? This conflict was eating away at her, making her feel lost in a time of transition. The pain of saying goodbye was not just about losing Mr. James, but about the realization that life was moving on, and she would never be the same again. The pressure to be strong, to let go, felt overwhelming. But Emma knew she had to face this head on, to understand what saying goodbye really meant. The final day arrived. The air was thick with emotions as the school hallways buzzed with the chatter of students, some excited about the future, others dreading the unknown. But for Emma, everything felt muted. The joy that came with graduation seemed overshadowed by the looming farewell to Mr. James. As she sat in the empty classroom during her last study period, Emma stared at the chair where Mr. James had always sat. The room, once filled with his enthusiastic lectures and discussions, now felt strangely silent. The echo of his voice seemed to linger in the air, but his absence was undeniable. It was in this silence that Emma's heart broke. She had never anticipated this moment of departure would be so final. The tears she had held back for so long began to surface. She wasn't ready to let go. She wasn't ready to face a future without the steady presence of Mr. James. But then, she thought back to all the lessons he had imparted. Lessons not just about English, but about life. Mr. James had always believed in her, even when she hadn't believed in herself. He had taught her how to think critically, how to approach life with compassion, and most importantly, how to face challenges with grace. As Emma stood up and walked to the front of the classroom, she made a decision. She would face this goodbye with strength. She would carry the lessons Mr. James had taught her into the world. She might not have the words to say all she felt in that moment, but she knew the most important thing. Her journey was just beginning, and she would take the spirit of his teachings with her. As Emma walked out of the school gates for the final time, she felt a strange sense of peace. The world was waiting for her, full of new experiences, challenges, and opportunities. But the love and wisdom Mr. James had shared with her would remain a constant, guiding her through whatever lay ahead. With each step, Emma realized that goodbyes weren't just about letting go. They were about growth. The pain of loss was part of the process of becoming who you were meant to be. Emma knew that no matter how far she went, Mr. James's influence would always be with her. She took a deep breath, feeling a quiet strength building within her. Saying goodbye to Mr. James didn't mean forgetting him. It meant carrying his teachings with her, using them to shape her future, and honoring the bond they had shared. Life was full of goodbyes, but it was also full of new beginnings. As Emma walked forward, she understood that, in a way, this wasn't the end. It was the start of a new chapter, one where she would continue to grow and learn, just as Mr. James had always hoped she would. If you enjoyed Emma's emotional journey, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more heartwarming English stories. We'd love to hear from you. Have you ever had a teacher who made a lasting impact on your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Also, don't miss out on other stories like this. Subscribe to our channel for more emotional and engaging tales that will help you improve your English while connecting with the deeper meanings of life. Keep learning, and let's grow together through the power of stories.